The stars stretched endlessly outside the viewport of the Dawn's Promise. Captain Wu stood on the bridge, her hands clasped behind her back as she watched the distant nebula glow in shades of purple and blue. 3 months of patrol duty had been quiet, almost too quiet. She preferred it that way. Quiet meant no one was dying. Behind her she heard the soft padding of feet. She didn't need to turn around to know who it was. A moment later, something warm and furry pressed against her leg. She looked down and smiled. Sat beside her, his large eyes staring up at her with complete trust. The little creature barely reached her knee, covered in thick gray fur with streaks of silver running down his back. His tail curled around her boot. "You're supposed to be in the cargo bay," Wu said softly, reaching down to scratch behind his triangular ears. Made a pleased rumbling sound deep in his throat. "Is going to complain again." As if summoned by his name, her second-in-command approached from the navigation station. Was a tall man with tired eyes and a constant frown, but Wu knew him well enough to see the softness beneath. He looked at and sighed. "Captain, the cub followed you again. We have protocols about animals on the bridge during duty hours." His tone was stern, but he was already crouching down to let sniff his hand. The little alien chirped happily and rubbed his head against his palm. "He's not an animal, he's crew," Wu replied with a grin. "Aren't you?" The cub tilted his head as if he understood. Maybe he did. None of them really knew how intelligent the species was. They had found 3 months ago on a derelict cargo ship drifting near the asteroid belt. The ship had been attacked by pirates. Everyone aboard was dead. Everyone except who had been hiding in a ventilation shaft, scared and alone. He couldn't have been more than a few weeks old. Wu had been the one to coax him out. She had crawled into that shaft herself, speaking softly, offering him water and food. When finally emerged, he had latched onto her immediately. From that moment, he refused to leave her side. He slept outside her quarters. He followed her to the bridge. He waited outside the bathroom door. Youngmi, their medical officer, said it was imprinting behavior. Had lost his family and chosen Wu as his new one. "Captain, we're receiving a distress signal." The voice came from Ensign at communications. The young man's face was pale. "It's from Colony 7. They're under attack." Wu's smile vanished. She strode quickly to the communications console, trotting faithfully at her heels. "Put it through." The speakers crackled with static and screaming. A woman's voice broke through, desperate and terrified. "This is Colony 7. We are under attack by raiders, 3 warships. They've already destroyed our defense satellites. We have civilians trapped in the lower sections. Please, anyone who can hear this, we need immediate assistance. They're cutting through the hull. Oh God, there." The transmission ended in a burst of static. Silence filled the bridge. Wu felt every eye turn to her. Colony 7 was a small mining outpost on the edge of human territory. 300 people lived there. Families, children, that were ruthless. They didn't take prisoners. They looted and killed and moved on. "How far?" Wu asked. 20 minutes at full speed," replied quietly. "Captain, we're a patrol vessel. We have light weapons. They have 3 warships." "I know what we have, Commander." Wu stared at the star map. 3 warships. The Dawn's Promise was fast and maneuverable, but it was designed for reconnaissance, not combat. They had a small crew of 15. Going up against raiders was suicide. She thought about the woman's voice on that transmission. She thought about 300 people waiting to die. She thought about who had lost everything to pirates just like these. "Set course for Colony 7, maximum speed." Her voice was steady and cold. Captain started. "That's an order, Commander." She turned to face him. "We're not leaving them to die." Held her gaze for a long moment, then nodded. "Yes, Captain." He moved to the helm. "All hands battle stations. This is not a drill." Alarms blared through the ship. Red lights flashed. Wu felt the deck vibrate beneath her feet as the engines roared to life. Pressed closer to her leg, sensing the tension. She knelt down and looked into his eyes. "I need you to go to Youngmi. Can you do that for me?" She pointed toward the door. Go find Youngmi, stay with her. Whined softly, he didn't want to leave. I know, but I need to keep you safe. Wu touched her forehead to his. Please go. The cub hesitated, then slowly turned and padded toward the door. He stopped once to look back at her, his eyes full of worry. Then he disappeared into the corridor. Approaching Colony 7 announced. Warships confirmed, 3 vessels Reaver class. Wu returned to her station. On the main, she could see Colony 7. The small station was built into an asteroid, its metal structures glinting in the light of the nearby star. Smoke poured from breaches in the hull, and circling like predators were 3 massive warships. They were ugly things, all sharp angles and dark metal, bristling with weapons. They've seen us, said. 2 of them are breaking off to intercept. Good, that's 2 less attacking the colony. Wu gripped the armrests of her chair. Target their engines. We're faster than they are. Hit and run. Don't let them get a lock on us. Weapons armed, reported the tactical officer. The Dawn's promise screamed toward the ships. The enemy vessels were larger and more powerful, but they were also slower. Wu counted on that. Her crew was good. They had trained for this. Fire. Plasma bolts lanced through space. The first volley struck the lead ship's engine array. Explosions blossomed across its stern. The warship lurched, trailing debris. Direct hit, they're venting atmosphere. Don't celebrate yet, here comes the second one. His voice was tight. The second warship opened fire. Red energy beams sliced through the darkness. The Dawn's promise banked hard, the artificial gravity struggling to compensate. Wu felt herself pressed against her seat. One beam grazed their shields. The ship shuddered. Shields at 70%, someone called out. Bring us around, target the weapons array. They danced through space, trading fire with the ships. The Dawn's promise was like a small bird fighting eagles. Every hit they took rattled the ship, but every hit they landed disabled more of the enemy's systems. The third vessel abandoned the colony and joined the fight. Now it was 3 against 1. Multiple targeting locks. Evasive maneuvers. The bridge erupted into chaos. Wu shouted orders, her mind working faster than her mouth could speak. They had to survive. They had to protect that colony. She wouldn't let more innocents die. Not today. Then everything went white. An explosion tore through the bridge. Wu was thrown from her chair. She hit the deck hard, pain exploding through her side and leg. Something warm and wet spread across her uniform. Blood. Her blood. She tried to stand, but her leg wouldn't support her weight. Through the smoke and sparks, she heard shouting. She heard alarms. She tasted copper in her mouth, but she forced herself to focus. The fight wasn't over. She crawled back toward her station, leaving a red trail behind her, and kept giving orders. The colony needed them. Her crew needed her. She would not stop until the enemy was defeated or she was dead. Blood dripped onto the console as Wu gripped the edge of her command station. Her vision swam. The pain in her side felt like fire spreading through her body. She could feel something warm and wet soaking through her uniform, but she couldn't stop. Not now. Not when 300 lives depended on her. Status report, she gasped through gritted teeth. Appeared beside her, his face covered in soot and blood from a gash on his forehead. Captain, you're injured. You need medical attention. Status report, she forced each word out. He grabbed her arm to steady her. Lead vessel is disabled. Second one has lost weapons capability. The third is still operational and closing fast. Wu looked at the third warship was bearing down on them, weapons charging. They had maybe seconds before it fired. Her mind raced through options. They couldn't outrun it. They couldn't outgun it, but maybe they could outsmart it. The asteroid field, take us into the asteroid field, now. Captain, at this speed wheel. Do it. The Dawn's promise dove toward the nearby asteroid belt. The warship followed. Wu watched the tactical display as huge chunks of rock appeared on the sensors. The pilot's hands flew across the controls, threading them through gaps between asteroids the size of buildings. Behind them, the ship fired. Energy beams lit up space, striking asteroids and vaporizing them into clouds of dust and debris. "They're gaining on us," reported. "Wait for it," Wu whispered. She watched the display. The ship was faster in open space, but in this maze of rock, size became a disadvantage. "Wait." A massive asteroid loomed ahead, 3 times the size of their ship. The pilot pulled up hard, skimming over its surface. The warship tried to follow but couldn't match their maneuverability. It clipped the asteroid's edge. The impact tore away part of its hull. Atmosphere vented in a white cloud. "Target their bridge. Fire everything we have." The Dawn's promise spun and unleashed every weapon. Missiles and plasma bolts hammered into the damaged ship. Its shields flickered and failed. Explosions rippled across its surface. Then its reactor went critical. The warship turned into a brief new star before collapsing into twisted metal. For a moment the bridge was silent except for the blaring alarms, then spoke. "All 3 vessels are disabled or destroyed. Colony 7 is safe." Cheers erupted. Was grinning despite the blood running down his face, but Wu felt herself sliding. Her leg gave out completely. She collapsed against the command chair. The pain was overwhelming now, washing over her in waves. She looked down and saw her uniform was soaked red. So much blood. Captain caught her before she hit the deck. "Medical team to the bridge, now." Wu tried to speak, but her tongue felt thick. The bridge was spinning. She saw faces looking down at her, worried faces. She wanted to tell them they did well. They saved those people, but the words wouldn't come. Then she heard something that cut through the fog in her mind. A sound she had never heard before. A high-pitched, desperate howl that made everyone freeze. It came from the corridor outside the bridge. It was. The door slid open and the small alien burst through. He had never disobeyed her before. She had told him to stay with Youngmi. But now he was racing across the bridge, his claws scratching against the metal floor. He reached Wu and pressed against her, making that terrible howling sound. His whole body was shaking. "It's okay," Wu whispered, reaching out with a trembling hand to touch his head. "I'm okay." But she wasn't okay. She knew it. Everyone knew it. Youngmi arrived with her medical kit, her face pale when she saw the extent of the injuries. A piece of shrapnel had torn through Wu's side. Her leg was twisted at a bad angle, possibly broken. The blood loss was severe. "We need to get her to medical bay, right now." Youngmi's voice was professional, but Wu could hear the fear underneath. "Someone get a stretcher." They lifted Wu onto the stretcher, tried to climb up with her but gently pulled him back. The cub fought against him, his claws extended, still making that awful howling noise. Wu had never seen him like this. He was always gentle, always calm. Now he looked almost wild. "Let him come," Wu managed to say. "Let him stay with me." Released, the cub immediately jumped onto the stretcher, curling against Wu's shoulder. He was still shaking, but he stopped howling. Instead, he made a low, continuous whimper that broke Wu's heart. They moved through the corridors of the Dawn's Promise. Wu drifted in and out of consciousness. Every jolt of the stretcher sent new waves of agony through her body, but she could feel pressed against her. His warmth, his presence. It helped somehow. The medical bay was bright. Too bright. Wu squinted against the lights as they transferred her to a bed. Youngmi and her assistant moved quickly, cutting away Wu's uniform, attaching monitors, starting IV lines. Their hands were gentle, but it still hurt. Everything hurt. Refused to leave the stretcher. When Youngmi tried to move him, he growled. It was a sound Wu had never heard from him before, deep and threatening. Youngmi stepped back, surprised. "It's okay. Let them help me," Wu whispered. The cub looked at her. His eyes were wide and frightened. Slowly, reluctantly, he climbed down from the stretcher, but he positioned himself right beside the medical bed, pressed against it, his eyes never leaving Wu's face. Youngmi worked quickly. The shrapnel missed your vital organs, but you're bleeding internally. I can stabilize you, but we need to get you to a proper medical facility. Station Meridian is the closest. 4 hours at maximum speed." 4 hours, Wu repeated. It sounded like forever. "You'll make it. You're tough, Captain." Youngmi injected something into the IV. Warmth spread through Wu's arm. The pain didn't disappear, but it became distant, like it was happening to someone else. "This will help with the pain. Try to rest." Rest sounded good. Wu was so tired, she let her eyes close. She could still feel beside her, could hear his soft breathing. That was good. As long as she could hear him, she knew she was still alive. She dreamed of fire and explosions. She dreamed of the warships. She dreamed of as a tiny cub hiding in that ventilation shaft, alone and scared. In her dream, she reached for him. She pulled him out. She held him close and promised he would never be alone again. When she opened her eyes again, she didn't know how much time had passed. The lights were dimmer now. Youngmi was standing over her, checking the monitors, was still there exactly where he had been before. He hadn't moved. When he saw her eyes open, he made a small questioning sound. "Hey, little one," Wu breathed. She tried to reach for him, but her arm was too heavy. "We're approaching Station Meridian," Youngmi said. 30 minutes, how do you feel?" "Like I fought 3 warships." Wu tried to smile, but it came out as more of a grimace. "Did we really do that?" "You did that, you saved 300 people." Youngmi adjusted the IV. "The colony is sending messages of gratitude. They're calling you a hero." "Just did my job." "Your job doesn't include taking on impossible odds." Youngmi's voice was soft. "You could have died. We all could have died." "But we didn't," Wu looked at. The cub's eyes were fixed on her face, watching her every breath. "We protect people. That's what we do. That's what makes us different." Youngmi nodded. She understood. They all understood. That was why they were out here in the black, so far from home, because someone had to stand between the innocent and those who would harm them. The ship shuddered slightly as they docked with Station Meridian. Wu heard voices in the corridor. The medical team from the station was coming to transfer her. She felt tense beside her. His body went rigid. A low rumble started in his chest. "It's okay," Wu told him. "They're here to help." But when the station's medical team entered, his rumble became a growl. His lips pulled back, showing small, sharp teeth. The doctors stopped in their tracks. One of them, an older man with gray hair, frowned at. "We'll need to remove the animal before we can move the patient." "His name is," Wu said firmly, despite the weakness in her voice, "and he stays with me." The doctor looked like he wanted to argue but stepped forward. "The captain gave an order. The cub stays with her. He won't cause problems as long as no one threatens her." The doctor's frown deepened, but he nodded. They moved Wu onto a new stretcher and followed so closely his fur brushed against the wheels. As they carried her out of the Dawn's Promise and into the station, Wu caught one last glimpse of her crew. They stood at attention, watching her go. She tried to lift her hand in acknowledgement, but darkness was pulling at her again. The last thing she felt was pressing against her side, and then there was nothing but sleep. Station Meridian's medical bay was 3 times the size of the one on the Dawn's Promise. White walls, bright lights, and the smell of disinfectant. Wu lay unconscious on a bed surrounded by machines that beeped and hummed. Her face was pale, too pale. The monitors showed her vital signs in green lines that jumped and fell with each heartbeat. Sat on the floor beside her bed. He hadn't moved since they brought her in. His gray fur was pressed against the cold metal of the bed frame. His eyes were locked on Wu's face. Every few minutes he would make a soft whimpering sound as if asking her to wake up. She never did. Dr. Sangwoo stood at the entrance to the room, studying the small alien with narrowed eyes. He was a tall man with sharp features and an even sharper tongue. He had been the chief medical officer on Station Meridian for 15 years. He had seen a lot in that time, but he had never seen anything like this. "That thing needs to be removed from my medical bay," he said to Commander Haywon, who stood beside him. "It's unsanitary, it's against protocol, and it's potentially dangerous." Haywon was a stern woman with short black hair and cold eyes. She ran Station Meridian like a military base, everything by the book, everything in its proper place. But even she seemed uncertain about this situation. "The captain's crew insists the creature stays," she said. "They claim separating them could cause distress to both the captain and the animal." "It's not an animal, it's an alien species we know almost nothing about." Sangwoo crossed his arms. "What if it carries diseases? What if it becomes aggressive? We have other patients in this facility. Then we keep them in an isolated room, which we've already done." Haywon watched through the window. The cub hadn't taken his eyes off Wu. "Has it shown any aggression?" "Not yet, but I need to examine the captain. I need to change her bandages and check her wounds. That thing won't let anyone near her." As if to prove his point, a young nurse named Bora entered the room carrying fresh bandages. She moved quietly, trying not to disturb the cub. But the moment she approached the bed, his head snapped toward her. A low growl rumbled from his chest. Bora froze. "It's okay," she said softly, holding up her hands. "I'm just here to help." The growl grew louder, stood up, placing himself directly between Bora and Wu. His small body was tense, ready to spring. His teeth were bared. The gentle, playful creature that the crew of the Dawn's Promise had described was gone. In its place was something primal, something protective. Bora backed away slowly and left the room. She found Sangwoo and Haywon still watching through the window. "I can't get near her," Bora said, her voice shaking slightly. "That little thing is serious. I think it would actually attack me." Sangwoo turned to Haywon. "This can't continue. The captain needs medical care. That creature is preventing us from providing it. It needs to be removed. Now." Haywon nodded slowly. "I'll authorize sedation for the animal. Once it's unconscious, we can move it to a holding cell." "No," the voice came from behind them. They turned to see standing in the corridor, his arms crossed. Youngmi was with him. Both looked exhausted but determined. "You're not touching." "This isn't your decision, Commander," Haywon said coldly. "This is my station. I make the rules here. And Captain Wu is our commanding officer. She gave explicit orders that stays with her." Stepped closer. "She wouldn't want him drugged and locked away. He's scared. He's protecting the only family he has left." "That thing isn't family, it's an alien, one that's currently preventing medical treatment." Sangwoo's voice was sharp. "Your captain is seriously injured. The wounds are deep. If infection sets in, she could die. Is that what you want?" Youngmi spoke up. "Let me try. Knows me. He trusts me. If anyone can get close to Wu, it's me." Sangwoo looked skeptical, but Haywon nodded. "Fine. You have one chance. If you can't get the creature to cooperate, we do this my way." Youngmi entered the room slowly. His head turned toward her immediately. The growling started again, but it was quieter than before, less threatening. Youngmi crouched down several feet away from him, making herself smaller, less intimidating. "Hey, remember me," she kept her voice soft and calm. "I'm Youngmi. I took care of you on the ship. Remember when you ate those ration bars and got a stomach ache? I made you feel better." Tilted his head, his ears twitching. The growling stopped, but he didn't move away from the bed. "I know you're scared. Wu is hurt and you want to protect her. That's good. You're a good boy." Youngmi slowly reached into her pocket and pulled out a small piece of dried meat. It was his favorite treat. "But we need to help her too. We need to make her better. Can you let me do that?" She tossed the treat gently toward. It landed a few inches from his front paws. He looked at it, then back at Wu, then at Youngmi. He didn't take the treat. Instead, he made a sad whimpering sound that made Youngmi's heart ache. "I know you miss her. She'll wake up soon, I promise, but first we need to take care of her wounds." Youngmi moved a little closer, inch by inch. "I'm going to check her bandages now. I won't hurt her. You can watch me. You can make sure I do it right, okay?" Watched her approach. His body was still tense, but he didn't growl again. When Youngmi reached the bed, she moved very slowly. Every action was deliberate and gentle. She checked the monitors first. Then she carefully lifted the edge of the bandage on Wu's side. His eyes tracked her every movement. His nose twitched, smelling the blood and antiseptic, but he let her work. Youngmi cleaned the wound carefully, applied fresh bandages, and adjusted the IV. The whole time she kept talking to in that same calm voice, explaining what she was doing. When she finished, she stepped back. "See, all done, she's going to be okay." Youngmi reached out slowly and touched his head. He allowed it, leaning slightly into her hand. "You did good, you're taking care of her." She left the room and found the others waiting. "I was able to treat her, but we have a problem. The wounds show signs of contamination. I think there was venom on that shrapnel. Her body is trying to fight it off, but it's making the fever worse." Sangwoo cursed under his breath. "Venom. That explains the inflammation. We'll need to run a full blood analysis and possibly administer anti-venom treatments, which means more medical procedures, which means getting past that creature multiple times." "His name is," Youngmi said firmly. "And he's scared and confused. He doesn't understand what's happening. In his mind, Wu is injured and everyone who approaches is a threat." "Then what do you suggest?" Haewon asked. "Give him time. Let him see that we're trying to help. I can perform the necessary treatments. He's starting to trust me." Youngmi glanced back at the room. Through the window they could see had returned to his position beside the bed, his head resting on his paws. "He's not going to leave her, and honestly I don't think we should make him. Maybe he needs to be there as much as she needs him." Sangwoo shook his head. "This is highly irregular. I'm documenting my objections to this entire situation." "Document whatever you want," said. "Stays with the captain, end of discussion." The hours passed slowly. Word spread through the station about the alien cub guarding the injured human captain. People found excuses to walk past the medical bay, curious to see for themselves. They saw sitting vigil beside Wu's bed, never moving, never sleeping, always watching. Bora brought him food and water. She learned to approach slowly to announce herself, to show that she meant no harm. He started to tolerate her presence. He would eat a little, drink a little, then return to his post. But anyone else who tried to enter the room was met with growls and bared teeth. A maintenance worker who came to repair a faulty monitor nearly got bitten. A medical assistant who tried to collect blood samples had to retreat when positioned himself over Wu's body, ready to fight. "This is getting ridiculous," Sangwoo complained to Haewon late that night. "We have the most advanced medical facility in this sector, and we can't properly treat a patient because of a small alien that weighs maybe 30 pounds. That small alien took down a trained maintenance worker twice its size," Haewon pointed out. She had reviewed the security footage. Speed and ferocity when he felt Wu was threatened was remarkable. "I'm starting to think Commander is right. The creature has bonded with the captain. Separating them might cause more harm than good." In the medical room, Wu remained unconscious. Her fever was climbing. The monitors showed her heart rate increasing, her blood pressure dropping. The venom was spreading through her system faster than the treatments could neutralize it. Youngmi worked through the night, administering medications, adjusting treatments, doing everything she could. And through it all stayed. His vigil never wavered. His eyes never closed. Sometimes he would press his nose against Wu's hand, breathing in her scent. Sometimes he would make soft sounds, like he was trying to call her back from wherever she had gone. As the night deepened and the station grew quiet, suddenly raised his head. His ears perked forward. He stared at Wu intently. Then he stood up and placed his front paws on the edge of the bed. He stretched his neck until his nose nearly touched her face. And he began to make a sound. It was unlike anything he had made before, not a growl or a whimper or a howl. It was almost like singing, a low, rhythmic sound that seemed to vibrate through the air. Youngmi, dozing in a chair in the corner, jerked awake. She had never heard anything like it. The sound seemed to resonate in her chest. It made her skin tingle. She watched as continued his strange song, his small body trembling with the effort. On the monitors, Wu's vital signs began to change. Her heart rate steadied. Her blood pressure stabilized. The fever started to drop just a little. Youngmi stared at the readings in disbelief. It shouldn't be possible, but something was happening. Something beyond human medicine was reaching out to Wu in a way none of them could understand, trying to pull her back from the edge of darkness with nothing but his desperate love and loyalty. The second night was worse than the first. Wu's condition deteriorated rapidly. Her fever spiked to dangerous levels. Her body was losing the fight against the venom. The poison was attacking her organs, shutting them down one by one. Sangwoo stood over her bed, his face grim as he studied the monitors. "Her kidneys are failing," he said quietly to Youngmi. "We need to start dialysis, and we need to perform an emergency procedure to flush the venom from her system. If we don't do it in the next hour, she won't make it through the night." Youngmi looked at. The cub had not left Wu's side for 2 days. He had barely eaten. He looked thin and exhausted, but his eyes were still alert, still watching everyone who came near. The strange singing sound he had made the night before had stopped. Now he just sat there, pressed against the bed, his small body trembling. "He won't let you operate," Youngmi said. "You saw what happened when the technician tried to adjust the IV, nearly attacked him. Then we sedate the animal. We don't have a choice anymore." Sangwoo's voice was hard. "The captain is dying. That creature's feelings don't matter if she's dead. Give me one more chance, please." Youngmi moved toward the bed. "Knows something is wrong. Maybe I can make him understand." She entered the room carrying a tray of medical instruments. His head snapped up. The growling started immediately, deep and threatening. Youngmi set the tray down and crouched to his level. "Listen to me. Wu is very sick. We need to help her. If we don't, she's going to die. Do you understand? She'll be gone. Forever." Youngmi felt tears sting her eyes. She didn't know if the cub could understand her words, but maybe he could feel the emotion behind them. "Please let us help her. Please." Stared at her. For a long moment nothing happened. Then slowly he stepped back from the bed, just one step, but it was enough. He sat down, his eyes never leaving Wu, but he was giving them space, permission. Youngmi quickly signaled to Sangwoo. They had to move fast before changed his mind. The medical team rushed in with equipment. They set up the machines needed for the emergency procedure. Sangwoo worked with practiced efficiency, inserting tubes, adjusting monitors, preparing the medications that would hopefully save Wu's life. Watched everything. His body was tense. Several times his growl rumbled through the room, but he didn't attack. He stayed where he was, trusting them, trusting Youngmi. The procedure took 30 minutes. 30 minutes of careful work as they filtered the venom from Wu's blood. The machines hummed and beeped. The medical team barely breathed. Everything had to be perfect. One mistake and they would lose her. Sangwoo was in the middle of adjusting the flow rate when the alarm screamed. Wu's heart rate spiked, then plummeted. The line on the monitor went flat. Her heart had stopped. "She's coding." Youngmi grabbed the defibrillator. "Clear." The shock of electricity jolted through Wu's body. Nothing. The line stayed flat. Again clear. Another shock, still nothing. Made a sound that would haunt Youngmi for the rest of her life. It was not a howl or a growl. It was pure anguish, the sound of something breaking. The cub lunged forward, but Bo-Ra, who had been standing near the door, caught him. Struggled against her, his claws scraping against the floor, trying to reach Wu. That terrible cry kept coming from his throat over and over. One more time. Sangwoo had his hands pressed on Wu's chest, doing compressions. Clear. Youngmi hit her with another shock. For a heartbeat, nothing. Then a blip on the monitor, then another. The line began to jump again, weak but steady. Wu's heart was beating. The room erupted in controlled chaos. Everyone moved at once, adjusting medications, checking vitals, stabilizing her. But Youngmi's attention was on. Bo-Ra had released him when Wu's heart started again. The cub rushed to the bed. He pressed his entire body against it, and then he began to shake, not from fear or cold but from something else. His whole body vibrated. "What's he doing?" Bora whispered. Youngmi pulled out her medical scanner and pointed it at. Her eyes widened. "His body temperature is rising, fast. He's generating heat. And there's something else. Some kind of energy signature I've never seen before." Sangwoo turned from the monitors. "What are you talking about?" "Look at the captain's vitals." Youngmi pointed at the screen. "Her heart rate is stabilizing. Blood pressure is rising. Body temperature is normalizing. All of it started the moment touched the bed." They all stared at the monitors in disbelief. It wasn't possible, but the data was right there. Wu's condition was improving, not slowly but rapidly, as if something was actively healing her from the inside. Sangwoo grabbed a scanner and examined. "There's a vibration, low frequency. It's resonating through the bed frame directly into the captain's body." He moved the scanner to Wu. "It's affecting her at a cellular level, stimulating tissue repair, increasing blood flow. This is incredible." Kept shaking. His eyes were closed, his breathing was labored. Whatever he was doing was taking everything he had. Sweat matted his fur. His small body looked like it might shake itself apart, but he didn't stop. "He's killing himself," Youngmi said suddenly. "Look at his vitals. His heart rate is through the roof. His body can't sustain this." "But if he stops, the captain might crash again." Sangwoo was torn between amazement and horror. This creature is using its own life force to save her. "We have to make him stop." Youngmi reached for but Bora grabbed her arm. "Wait, look." On the monitors, Wu's eyes were moving beneath her eyelids. Her fingers twitched. Color was returning to her cheeks. The venom was being neutralized at an impossible rate. Her organs were regenerating. In medical terms, what they were witnessing was a miracle. Shaking began to slow. His body temperature started to drop back to normal. The vibration faded, and then finally he collapsed. He simply fell over, his small body hitting the floor with a soft thud. Youngmi rushed to him. She scooped him up in her arms. He was breathing, but barely. His heartbeat was weak and irregular. He had given everything he had. "Is he alive?" Bora asked, her voice breaking. "Yes, but he's in shock. His body is shutting down." Youngmi carried to a smaller medical bed. She hooked him up to monitors, started an IV, wrapped him in heated blankets. "He needs rest. He needs time to recover." "Will he make it?" Sangwoo asked quietly. "I don't know. I've never treated a before. I don't even know what normal vitals are for his species." Youngmi worked frantically, doing everything she could think of. "Come on, little one. You didn't save her just to give up now. Fight, please fight." The hours crawled by. Wu lay in her bed, stable now, her body healing. Lay in his bed, struggling to survive. The medical bay was silent except for the steady beep of monitors. Youngmi refused to leave. She sat between the two beds, watching over both of them. Came to check on them. When he saw so small and still on that bed, his tough exterior cracked. "What happened?" Youngmi explained everything, the emergency procedure, Wu's heart stopping, his desperate attempt to save her. When she finished, was quiet for a long time. "That little thing loves her that much," he finally said. It wasn't a question. Yes, he would have died for her. He almost did. Youngmi checked vitals again, still weak but holding steady. "I don't understand it. I don't understand how any of this is possible. But there's a bond between them that goes beyond anything we can explain." "Humans form bonds too," said quietly. "We love, we sacrifice. We give everything for the people we care about. Maybe that's what learned from her. Maybe that's what makes this bond so powerful. It's not just instinct or biology. It's love, pure and simple." As if responding to his words, Wu's monitors beeped. Her eyes fluttered open for the first time in 3 days. She looked around, confused and disoriented. Youngmi was at her side immediately. "Captain, can you hear me? You're in Station Meridian. You were badly injured, but you're going to be okay." Wu's lips moved. Her voice was barely a whisper. "He's here, he's right here." Youngmi gestured to the small bed. "He saved your life, Captain. When your heart stopped, I don't know how to explain it, but he brought you back." Wu tried to turn her head to see him. "Is he okay?" "He's weak. What he did took everything out of him, but he's alive, he's fighting." Youngmi helped Wu lift her hand. She guided it toward the small bed so Wu could touch fur. "He needs you to be strong now. He needs you to get better. Can you do that?" Wu's fingers buried themselves in soft fur. "I'm here," she whispered. "I'm not leaving you, I promise." On his bed's ear twitched. His breathing seemed to deepen, to strengthen. Even unconscious, even at the edge of death, he knew she was there. And somehow, that gave him the will to keep fighting. Sangwoo stood at the entrance to the room, watching the scene. His expression had changed. The skepticism was gone. In its place was something close to wonder. He had spent his entire career studying medicine, understanding the science of healing. But what he had witnessed today went beyond science. It was something deeper, something that couldn't be measured, or it was the power of connection, of love, of the bonds that form between beings who choose to protect each other against all odds. "Document everything," he said to his staff. "Every scan, every reading, every observation. The Galactic Medical Council needs to know about this. The species has abilities we never imagined, and more importantly, they're capable of forming bonds with humans that can literally transcend death." He looked at Wu, and their hands and paws touching across the space between their beds. "This changes everything." 3 days after she nearly died, Wu woke to find morning light streaming through the window of her medical room. Real light, not the artificial glow of the ship. For a moment, she couldn't remember where she was. Then the memories came flooding back. The battle, the explosion, the pain, and she turned her head, wincing at the stiffness in her neck. Beside her bed was a smaller medical bed. On it lay, he looked so small, wrapped in blankets connected to monitors. His chest rose and fell with shallow breaths. His fur, usually sleek and shining, was dull and patchy. He had lost weight, a lot of weight. His ribs showed through his sides. Wu whispered. She tried to reach for him, but pain shot through her side. She gasped, and immediately the door opened. Youngmi rushed in. "Captain, you're awake. Don't try to move. Your wounds are still healing." Youngmi helped her settle back against the pillows. "How do you feel?" "Like I lost a fight with a warship. How long was I out?" 3 days. You crashed during emergency surgery. Your heart stopped." Youngmi's voice was soft. "We almost lost you." Wu looked at again. What happened to him? Why does he look like that? Youngmi pulled up a chair and sat down. Then she told Wu everything. How had guarded her. How he had growled at anyone who came near. How he had refused to eat or sleep. And finally, how he had used his own life force to save her when her heart stopped. "We didn't know had that ability," Youngmi explained. "The healing resonance. It's like nothing we've seen before, but it nearly killed him. He gave everything to bring you back." Wu felt tears burning in her eyes. She looked at the small alien who had lost everything and still found a way to give more. "How is he now?" "Stable but weak. He hasn't woken up since that night. His body is trying to recover, but it's a slow process." Youngmi checked the monitors. "He needs rest, he needs food, and he needs you to get better. I think that's the only thing that will truly help him." "Then I'll get better." Wu's voice was firm despite her weakness. "I'm not letting him down, not after what he did for me." Over the next few hours, more visitors came, brought news from the Dawn's promise. The ship had taken damage in the fight, but nothing the repair crews couldn't fix. The colony they had saved was sending messages of gratitude. They wanted to give Wu and her crew medals. "Tell them I was just doing my job," Wu said. "I did, they didn't care, you're a hero to them." Looked at, to all of us really. What you did was insane, brave but insane. Someone had to help those people. And someone almost died because of it. His voice was gentle. "I'm glad you're okay, Captain, we need you." Commander Haewon visited next. The The station commander stood at attention, her face as stern as ever. But her eyes softened when she looked at Wu. "I owe you an apology, Captain. I wanted to remove the cub. I thought he was a danger. I was wrong." Hayone glanced at. "What he did for you, it's remarkable. I've never seen loyalty like that." "He's special," Wu said simply. "They all are, though we just didn't know it yet." "Well, we know now. Dr. Sangwoo has been studying the medical data. He wants to present his findings to the Galactic Council." Hayone paused. "There's something else. The Council has already heard about what happened here. They're sending representatives. They want to study." Wu felt her chest tighten. "Study him." "They want to understand the healing ability. They think it could revolutionize medicine." Hayone's voice was careful. "They're talking about taking him to a research facility." "No," the word came out sharp and cold. "They're not taking him anywhere. Captain, the Council's authority supersedes military orders. If they decide—" "I don't care what they decide. Is not a specimen. He's not a lab animal. He's a person, a child, and he's under my protection." Wu tried to sit up, ignoring the pain. "They'll have to go through me first." "Captain, please, you're still injured." Youngmi tried to ease her back down, but Wu resisted. "I mean it, saved my life. He's lost everything. His family, his home, his entire species might be gone for all we know. I'm all he has left." Wu's voice cracked. "I won't let them take him, I won't." Hayone held up her hands. "I understand, and for what it's worth I agree with you. I'll do what I can to delay the Council, but they're powerful, Captain. They can override any objections." After Hayone left, Wu lay back, exhausted from the brief outburst. She reached over and managed to touch his paw. It was warm, that was good. He was still fighting. "I won't let them take you," she whispered. "I promise." 2 more days passed. Wu grew stronger. She could sit up now. She could eat solid food. The doctors were amazed at her recovery rate. Sangwoo theorized that some of his healing resonance had lasting effects, speeding up her natural healing process. But didn't improve. He stayed unconscious, his small body barely moving. Youngmi tried everything. Different medications, nutrient fluids, temperature adjustments. Nothing worked. It was like it used up everything he had, and now his body didn't know how to recover. On the 5th day, Wu convinced Youngmi to help her move to a chair besides bed. It hurt to move. Every step sent pain through her healing wounds, but she needed to be closer to him. She needed him to know she was there. She sat in that chair for hours, her hand resting on side. She talked to him, told him stories about her childhood, about her training to become a captain, about the first time she saw the stars from space. She didn't know if he could hear her, but she talked anyway. "You need to wake up," she said softly. "I know you're tired, I know you gave so much, but I need you to come back. You're not alone anymore, you have me. You have the crew, you have a family, so please open your eyes, please." As if in response to her words, ear twitched. It was small, barely noticeable, but Wu saw it. She leaned closer. "That's it, come on, little one. You can do this, wake up." His eyelids fluttered once, twice. Then slowly they opened. His eyes were unfocused at first, confused. Then they found Wu's face. Recognition sparked in them. He made a soft sound, almost like a question. "Hey," Wu said, her voice breaking. "There you are, I was so worried about you." Tried to lift his head, but he was too weak. Wu gently stroked his fur. "Don't try to move, you need to rest. You've been sick, but you're going to be okay now. We both are." Tears ran down her cheeks. She didn't bother to wipe them away. Eyes tracked them, concerned. He made another soft sound, trying to comfort her even in his weakened state. That just made her cry harder. Youngmi came running when she heard Wu's voice. She found them together, captain and cub, both of them alive against all odds. She smiled through her own tears. "Welcome back, we missed you." Over the next week, both Wu and recovered. They did it together, side by side. When Wu did her physical therapy, walking the corridors to rebuild her strength, walked beside her. When needed to eat, Wu hand-fed him, encouraging every bite. They healed each other in ways that went beyond medicine. The Galactic Council representatives arrived on day 10. They were three stern-faced individuals from different species. They came with papers and authority and demands. They wanted to take for study. They claimed it was for the greater good, for medical advancement, for the benefit of all species. Wu met them in Heywan's office. She was still weak, still healing, but she stood straight and faced them with steel in her eyes. "No," she said simply. "Captain Wu, you don't have the authority to refuse the council," one of them said. His name was Kelvin and he had 4 arms and blue skin. "This is a matter of galactic importance. And is a living being with rights. He's not property, he's not a tool, he's a person." Wu crossed her arms. "He's also a minor of his species who has bonded with me. I am his guardian, and I say no. They are not recognized as a sentient species by the Council. They have no legal rights." Another representative, a tall woman with gray skin, spoke coldly. "We can take him with or without your permission." "You can try." Wu's voice was quiet but dangerous. "But you'll have to explain to the entire galaxy why you're kidnapping a child who saved his guardian's life. A child who nearly died protecting a human. The media would love that story." The representatives exchanged glances. They hadn't expected resistance. Most people obeyed the council without question. Kelvin leaned forward. "What do you want, Captain?" "I want to stay with me. I want the species to be granted full sentient status, and I want it to be illegal to separate bonded pairs without consent." Wu met his gaze steadily. "Those are my terms." "That's impossible. The council doesn't negotiate with." "Then I'll go public with everything. The medical data, the recordings, the testimony from everyone who witnessed what happened." Wu's expression hardened. "I'll show the galaxy exactly what you're trying to do, and I'll let them decide if the council's authority is worth more than one child's freedom." Silence filled the room. The representatives looked at each other. Finally, Kelvin sighed. "We'll take your proposal to the council. No promises." "That's all I ask." They left, clearly unhappy, but Wu knew she had won. The council wouldn't risk the publicity, not when public opinion was already turning in her favor. The story of the brave captain and the loyal alien cub had spread through the station and beyond. People were already calling a hero. Taking him away now would make the council look like monsters. 2 weeks later, the ruling came down. They were granted provisional sentient status pending further study, and a new law was passed. Bonded pairs, defined as any being who had performed a life-saving resonance bond, could not be forcibly separated. It was called the Wu Protection Act. When told her the news, Wu just smiled and looked at. The cub had grown stronger. He was eating normally now. His fur had regained its shine. He looked healthy and happy. When he saw her looking, he tilted his head and made a questioning chirp. "We won," she told him. "You get to stay with me forever." His tail wagged. He bounded over and pressed against her legs, purring. It was the same sound he had made when she first pulled him from that ventilation shaft. The sound of complete trust and love. 6 months later, Wu stood on the bridge of the Dawn's Promise. Her wounds had healed completely. She was back to full duty. The ship had been repaired and upgraded, and they had a new mission. They were heading into deep space, into unexplored territory, into the unknown. Beside her sat at his usual spot. He had grown. He was now the size of a large dog with powerful muscles beneath his gray fur, but he was still gentle, still loyal, still hers. The crew had gotten used to having him around. He had his own station on the bridge now, his own sleeping quarters, his own ration of food. He was officially listed on the crew manifest as cultural ambassador and medical specialist. "Ready for departure, Captain," reported. Wu looked out at the stars. Somewhere out there were more, maybe entire colonies of them. Maybe they were all capable of forming these incredible bonds. She wanted to find them. She wanted to help them. and she wanted to show the galaxy that humanity's greatest strength wasn't their weapons or their technology. It was their ability to love, to protect, to form connections that transcended species and biology. "Take us out," she ordered. The Dawn's promise surged forward into the black. Behind them, Station Meridian grew smaller. Ahead of them lay infinite possibilities. Wu reached down and scratched behind the ears. He leaned into her touch, his eyes half closed in contentment. They had saved each other, a human captain and an alien cub, and in doing so they had shown the galaxy something important. That family wasn't about blood or species. It was about choice, about sacrifice, about standing beside someone even when the whole universe told you to walk away. That was humanity's gift, not just to themselves, but to all the species they would meet among the stars. The ability to see past differences and find common ground. The willingness to fight for those they loved, no matter the cost. The strength to form bonds that could survive anything. As the stars streaked past, Wu smiled. The future was uncertain. There would be more battles, more challenges, more moments where everything hung in the balance. But she wouldn't face them alone. She had her crew, she had her ship, and she had who had proven that loyalty and love were the most powerful forces in the universe. Together, they would face whatever came next, and the galaxy would learn what it truly meant to be human, not through conquest or domination, but through connection, through the simple act of choosing to care, through the revolutionary idea that every being, no matter how small or strange, deserved a chance to be part of something bigger than themselves. In the reflection of the viewport, human and alien stood side by side, ready for the next adventure, ready to show the universe that hope, courage, and love could transcend any boundary. That was the real story, not of humanity conquering the stars, but of humanity bringing light to the darkness by simply refusing to let go of those they chose to protect. And as the Dawn's promise disappeared into the depths of space, one thing was certain. Captain Wu and would change the galaxy, not with weapons but with the unbreakable bond they shared. A bond that proved, beyond any doubt, that humanity's greatest strength had always been their heart.